This is a Glassbox Media podcast.
Setting and I just went and I filled up a big bowl with hot water and I went over to the bathtub.
You're like, let's pretend to be Marie Antoinette.
Yeah, I'm like
Marie Antoinette.
I'm gonna pretend to be a.
Did you use like a porcelain
basin?
Bowl? A basin.
Yeah. No. It was far more. It was far more like gold miner, like 1868 in the Old West.
I took
like
a Deadwood bath.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. Like it was like a washcloth, and I was just like sudsing it up with Irish Spring. Oh, it was horrifying.
Oh my
And then
God.
of course I didn't wash my face first, so then I had to like dump the water.
Right.
Naked, went back over to the sparklets, like filled it back up so I could wash my face with hot water. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Oh my God.
Horrified. I was like, I've never felt so poor. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I texted Cassie this week. I was like, so Mercury in retrograde or what?
shit.
What's going on?
We need to
'Cause it
look
was
that shit up.
literally a fucking shit show.
Yeah.
So
What are you going to do?
have you heard about this story? Japanese official calls high heel mandates for women at work, quote, necessary and appropriate,
Why?
dismissing, quote, kutu movement.
They're just too sexy? Is that what it is? Like, why?
No, are they banning them or saying they
don't
have
know.
to?
Japanese women are
It reads like they're saying like
They
you
have to wear them work. Yeah.
You have
Oh,
to wear
whoa.
high heels.
Yeah.
No.
I think that is exactly what they're saying. That it says they're necessary
For what
and
reason?
appropriate. And the, yeah.
I need
You're
more
like, I need
information
all
on
the
this.
information.
Please hold.
I mean, I like wearing heels, but like
So
I don't.
do I, but it shouldn't be mandatory.
Exactly.
It's
I wear
also
them.
not necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, in what way is wearing heels necessary for work?
For my job,
Right.
Doesn't. Yeah.
If we have to wear them, dudes have to wear them. How about that?
That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
If it's necessary for one gender, I don't understand why it's not necessary for both.
Right.
oh my God, speaking of heels and working in heels, I did a fucking show this weekend. I have blisters all over my feet. I worked my ass off.
Yeah.
But then we decided, you know what? After the show, you know what would be fun? Let's go to Universal, both parks. And so we walked around Universal for like a whole day, but it was a fun.
I still haven't been out there. I been bad. I mean, I just went to Disney for the first time with you guys not that long ago.
Oh my God, it was so fun.
Oh, the
And
best. I'm going back to Disneyland tomorrow, and I'm like, because we went to California Adventure, and this time I'm going to both parks, and I'm like, I keep asking Anthony, I'm like, which park do you want to go into first? Which ride do you want to do first? I'm so excited.
I
That
need
is
to.
fun.
Yeah, I need to go to both. I need to put that on my list to check out Universal.
We
Definitely.
legitimately rode the Mummy ride like no less than 8 times.
Universal's fun.
It is so fun.
Yeah.
Universal Florida is definitely bigger, but I in my mind I was like, oh, there's so many things that we're missing at the Universal here in Hollywood that I'm like, you know, oh, and they're going to be so much better. But I'm like, a lot of the rides are very similar.
I mean, and
or
here's the
same.
thing. It's like you only have a finite amount of time at any park, right? So
Yeah.
it's just like you could go to a super huge park, but I'm seriously like, Walt Disney World is like a city. Like it's huge. It's massive. And I'm sitting here thinking we're having one day at both California Adventure and Disneyland. And I'm like, we're probably not going to get to everything. Like we went to California Adventure,
Yeah.
rode almost every ride.
Yeah.
Some of them a couple of times.
Yeah.
You know, and like that was a full day.
you
Yeah.
know, that
So-
trick is though, is that single rider line. That's what's up.
Single rider or
Dude, we got
just
through both
being
parks.
on top of your fucking fast passes.
Yeah. You
Because
guys
of
are
it.
pros.
Universal doesn't have fast
Oh,
passes
yeah.
except for like to buy them, and it was a Tuesday, so we were like, I'm not spending all
No
that extra
need.
money to
Yeah,
fucking
no
get
need.
fast pass.
Oh my God. You guys, Chuck is literally being such a maniac.
Completely
right now.
losing his marbles. He's running all over the room.
But I think we absolutely have to talk about the biggest news this week.
Oh my God.
Preach on it.
Yep.
The biggest breakup.
The breakup.
The
breakup. We just got the news
The breakup
today.
with this girl whose name I don't even know, but it's still the biggest breakup
Arena
of all time.
Shake.
Because
However you
all of
say
us
her
are
name.
literally just sitting here waiting for Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga to get together.
Like literally,
Like,
are all of us. We're all the memes today. Like,
we're like, when's the acceptable
Side-eye.
amount of time?
Right.
Like, how long do you guys have to be broken up before you guys can make your public debut?
From what I was reading, anonymous sources have said
Ooh,
that
sources.
they have been on the outs since like before like Star is Born was released, but they
because he's been
agreed.
obsessed with Lady Gaga since like he cast her.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
obsessed with her.
that
Like,
chemistry
they-
was undeniable.
I know.
But she's engaged too, right?
No.
no, their
no.
engagement fell apart. Like,
in
But
February.
didn't she date like isn't she dating a new guy though?
No,
I don't think so. Not that I know of.
Mm-mm. No. What
Interessante.
the other thing that was really interesting is that really beautiful actress from Good Place, Jamila.
Oh, she is.
Oh, I love her.
fucking gorgeous.
She's awesome.
She's gorgeous
Soups
and
progressive.
so smart, and so she side-eyed a lot of the commentary. She's like, I love that a lot of people are calling Lady Gaga a homewrecker. Seems kind of weird and sexist to me.
Oh, no, like
Ooh.
honestly, that
Good for her.
mentality is so fucking outdated.
Yeah, because she's like, oh, and we're all like commenting on a marriage that we didn't know. You know what I mean? Because it's
That-
like,
true.
and that's
It's true.
absolutely true. But honestly, this homewrecker trope has got to go because
Absolutely.
it's like, listen, if there was cheating happening in that marriage, unbeknownst to Bradley Cooper's wife, that's on Bradley Cooper.
Yeah,
That's
right.
not on Lady Gaga. Lady
Yep.
Gaga didn't wreck anything. It wasn't her marriage.
right.
Like, you
And
know,
the other thing too is like reading through their relationship, both of them like this is the deep dive that I did like at like 2 a.m, like this morning, so I couldn't sleep. So the timeline was like February of 2015, like Irina broke up with the fucking Ronaldo, that athlete.
Cristiano
Yeah.
Ronaldo.
Oh, yeah.
They broke up after like a 5-year marriage or whatever. So there was like, and then in April, Bradley Cooper broke up with whoever he had been dating for a few years, and then in May they were like dating in May of 2015.
Bradley
So-
Cooper's
and it
an
was like-
overlapper.
Yeah,
I
it was
see.
it was fast. It was fast that they dove into this, and then they turn around and like have a kid, and then you can watch that video of them like even later that year. People were like, "Oh, this isn't gonna last," because
Well,
they
they
watch
seemed
them
real
at
weird.
Wimbledon,
Yeah.
and you're definitely watching. You're like, "That's a couple having
Who
a fucking
fighting.
fight."
Oh,
you
and
know what I
always
mean?
know.
You
You're always
always know. And she's like dabbing tears away, and I mean, cameras are like zoomed in at fucking Wimbledon.
Damn.
Dude, I'm like, that is
how conspicuous do you have to be
awkward.
if like in a crowd they're like zoom in on that shit? We're gonna want to examine that shit later. I mean, and
Thank God I don't have
everyone
cameras follow him.
No
you know
shit.
what I mean?
everyone noticed
Yeah.
too at the Oscars where it was just like
It was awkward.
it was just like it was fine. Like they didn't look like they were having a fight or anything, but they also didn't feel like a married couple.
No.
Like when you
but
saw
they weren't married though, right?
they are were
No,
they not married?
they're not
Oh,
married.
they're not married.
They just
Okay.
they just have the
Long-term
baby.
relation.
And it's only been 4 years. I mean,
Only.
only.
Yeah.
That's
So-
ridiculous.
Yeah,
Sometimes
yeah.
that's not for me to comment on. 4 years is a very long time,
Yeah,
but
it's a decent
and
amount of
they
time,
have
for
a
sure.
child together. But that's what they were saying is just like it was a lot so fast, and they didn't feel like they really knew each other. Was the goss?
They just felt
the
like they
hot
had to
goss.
like
Yeah.
make it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they were trying to force something that wasn't really there. And then Lady Gaga came, and he was like, "That's it."
You're fully feeling. They're like, this is the narrative right now.
Yeah. I'm
You're like,
writing it.
yeah.
I'm putting money on it.
Right.
Yeah. Let's go.
Look, I'm here for it. Like I ship that hard, but
and I just want
I
Lady
also-
Gaga to be happy. And
I
she's
want
had like
someone
two
to look at
engagements.
me the way that they look at each other. Because
Yes.
good God,
Yeah.
is that
Even if
that's-
they're just good friends, like that's
that
that's
chemistry is real.
love.
Love.
It's what
Yeah.
it is. Because even if it is just
friendship.
friends,
It's like they
they
care
love
about
each other.
deeply.
Yeah.
yeah.
it's so obvious. She's like, that's acting. That's what we wanted you to see. I'm like, honey,
Well, Well, and they also
you're not Meryl Streep, and
Yeah.
even Meryl Streep can't give that kind of performance. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
right?
and they talked about their affection for each other
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, she said, I think I talked about it on the podcast. I don't remember. But like, she said that after like a particularly difficult scene, like emotional scene for her, or no, vice versa, a difficult scene for him, like like a really emotionally difficult scene for him, he went back to his trailer and she had bought like several dozen roses and put them in his trailer because like she knew, with like a card, because like she knew that like he was having a tough time like filming that scene. I'm like,
and here's the thing: if you're that person
And sips tea.
sips my wine.
and your partner isn't doing that, but this other person is, I mean,
It
a
only
big part
exploits
of
a thing that's like,
It puts a spotlight on something that you didn't know necessarily that
you
you
needed.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
that kind of, yeah.
but again, that's where communication is super key, because then you're like,
Yeah.
hey, wait a second, I actually need that or whatever. I don't know, but
Right. Yeah.
who knows?
I've been actually also like digging on the Jada Pinkett-Smith, the Red Table Talk.
Oh,
on
yeah?
I haven't
Facebook.
been watching those.
It gets real.
I mean, I've heard
It gets
a lot of people
real, and
are
it gets
into it.
uncomfortable. And it is. She talked. Their big thing today was like about infidelity, and she was talking about. I don't know what Will Smith did like a while back.
Oh, shit.
But like, she was like, "I wish it was infidelity," is what she said.
Shit.
And I was like,
Call him out,
"Damn."
sis.
Damn.
She's like something about like breaking. What did she say? Oh my God. The quote was like, it was like heartbreaking.
Damn.
And I know when Will Smith was a guest on her show, he had said like their marriage fell apart at one point and they had to rebuild it from the ground
Ground
up.
up.
Well,
Wow.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
just like, that takes
like
work.
marriage is work. Like
Yeah,
it's hard.
sure.
Relationships are work. All
Yeah.
relationships are work. And I can only imagine like celebrity relationships have got to be twice the work.
Can you imagine being
That spotlight on
Irina
you.
or whatever? This whole time where literally the entire world is like, can you get out of the way? Like,
Yes.
can
Yes.
And like everyone is saying, like, look at how much these two love each other. Look at how much
Yeah,
these
it
two
would
love
get
each other.
in your
Even if
head.
it's not.
Even the most secure person would
Correct.
be like,
Yeah, it's insane.
thinking that, you know, it would be really hard. I mean, and also like just you've got very, very, very good looking people who are
Right.
very, very, very wealthy.
Right.
Who are all together all the time. It's like it's a tremendous amount of temptation for anyone. It's no wonder how like why these marriages fall apart so often or like have problems, you know, because they're
Yeah.
they're experiencing so much temptation all the time. Like they're experiencing so much stuff all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And just like an added level of like
Yeah.
scrutiny
Under
and
a microscope.
commentary.
Yes,
Yeah.
commentary.
Can you imagine if like people like
Nope.
thousands of people were just commenting on your marriage
No.
every day?
And if they
And
knew there
honestly,
were
which is why I'm
issues, like-
super private about my relationship.
Yeah.
Honestly, even sometimes just in general, like with friends and stuff, I'm like I don't feel like I have to share everything that's going on,
Right.
For me,
Yeah,
so that
yeah.
would be really.
And so even though they tried to keep it private, you know, that was like their whole thing. Like because
tough.
Yeah, they couldn't escape that.
Yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
and you also add on having so much money that
Right.
there's a lot of motivators that couples have to like work things out in a relationship.
Right.
And it would almost make you feel like relationships are disposable because there aren't the same kinds of consequences, financial or otherwise, for
Right.
being like, nah,
yeah,
deuces.
I definitely
on, like,
know
anything.
people that have stayed together for longer than they wanted to, just because of like how much money would it be to split, or I don't think I can do it,
Or
on
you have
my own.
assets that need to be divided, or,
Right.
you know, like
And it
all of
just
these
seems
things.
like so much more trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, I'd rather
Which
be
isn't good,
kind of
but, like-
unhappy, but I kind of know I can deal with this kind of thing than, you know,
Right.
do the
Yeah.
hard work and hurt, you know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, I mean, that makes me feel bad for being part of the noise that was
I
like
know.
Brad and Lady Gaga. Like,
No, but I mean, that's honestly my fucking 12-year-old heart is bursting at the seams at like
Right.
true fucking love finding each other.
Yeah.
So honestly,
they better fucking stay together. It better not be like a
Forever.
Heidi and Seal situation. That shit wrecked me when they
Oof.
divorced. I was like,
Love's not real. And that
it's
just proves
over.
it.
I mean, it's over. Or
No,
like
it's totally
which-
going to be a Richard Burton, Elizabeth Taylor kind of thing.
They're gonna like get together, break up, get together, break up. In like 40 years, there's gonna be a Lifetime movie, starring some current child actress who's like gonna play Lady Gaga.
Oh my God, was that Lindsay Lohan?
Lindsay
that played
Lohan.
fucking Elizabeth Taylor.
Yes.
Oh my God,
How
that's right.
ridiculous was that
Fucking
fucking movie?
Incredibly
So
ridiculous.
one of my
Who made that call? Who was
My
like, yeah.
favorite movies, and I'll watch it like every time I feel kind of sick or whatever, and I have to stay homesick. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Yes.
Love that movie.
Yes. The
I-
melodrama.
Yeah.
So what couples, like, we all have those couples. For me, like, Seal and Heidi Klum were one. Amy Poehler.
Yeah.
And what's his face?
They're done.
They've
Well,
been
they've
done
been
for a
done.
while, but like
Yeah.
when it happened, I was like,
That makes sense. Will Arnett, yeah.
Will Arnett, because I'm
Yeah.
like, they made sense to me. Like,
Yeah.
I loved them together. There are certain couples that you hear when they split up and you're like, no.
Oh, love's not real.
I know. What was that? That Channing Tatum and
Jenna Dewan.
They seemed like they
They
were
were cute together.
they were-
yeah.
like
Well, that was-
legit.
yeah, because they were together for so long.
Yeah.
I mean, to piggyback on last week's episode, if Tom Hanks and his wife split up.
Oh, fuck.
Right.
No.
Or Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell.
Oh, no.
Yeah, can't handle
I
that.
forbid
I
it.
cannot handle
What
that.
about?
Who else?
Oh my gosh, who
Tom
do
and
we
Nicole
ship?
Kidman.
You know who-
No. Oh wait, just
Oh, well,
kidding.
Freaking Jada and Will.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They're legit.
We don't want that to
Yeah.
happen. You know who I was thinking. I don't feel like this falls under this category, but I was listening to an episode of a certain podcast where they were talking about L. Ron Hubbard, and
You're like, I will not.
they were talking about Battlefield Earth. And
Oh
so
my God.
this is where my mind went.
John
and that this is why
Travolta?
it's relevant, is because it made me think there are like two couples. There's like there's Tom and Rita, who've been married for about
Right.
the same time as
Yeah.
Kelly Preston and John Travolta.
Oh
Yeah.
But like, is that coupling not weird now?
It's weird.
Like
Yeah.
Kelly Preston and John Travolta, I'm like, because he looks like a mannequin,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'm like, why? I'm kind of like, why are they still together on the other side of the spectrum?
Yeah.
Like they've been married for like 30 years, and
There's
I'm like,
tons of different kinds of like relationships though. Like sometimes like maybe it's okay that it morphs into a cohabitation kind of thing. Like it's not all going to be like, I still believe that Will and Jada get down.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
Well, I heard
You
they
know
have
what
an
I mean?
open marriage, or they did.
Also, what
They
I
haven't-
heard,
they
I've
haven't
heard
talked
there's been
about
a lot
it.
of rumors about
A
that.
lot of rumors,
Yeah,
but they
and that
they
Will
seem
goes
like
both ways and all that shit. Like, there's been all kinds of rumors for years about their relationship.
yeah. So I'm like, you have that, and then you have Kelly Preston and John Travolta, where I'm like,
They sleep in separate
sleep in
beds.
separate
Yeah.
bedrooms.
Yeah.
Oh,
you know
really?
what I
They
mean?
really
No,
legitimately
I don't.
do?
We don't know that, but
I'm
Oh,
guessing.
So, but
like,
that doesn't,
oh,
that
that
is the
doesn't
vibe
mean
they
you
put
just
off.
got
That doesn't
intel.
mean that they're less happy.
No, it doesn't. It
You know
doesn't
what I mean?
delegitimize their marriage or
yeah,
their
yeah.
relationship in any way. It's just one of those things where, like, I look at Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, and I'm
That's
like,
the
those
kind
two
of
still
marriage-
fucking love each other. Those are like, that's like your ideal parent marriage,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
on the outside, that's what it looks like. You look at Kelly Preston and John Travolta, and it's like we all have those friends whose parents are like, you guys just live together. Like, you
Yeah.
guys just are comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Exactly.
I don't think you fuck anymore.
No,
But
no.
like, you guys like to sit together and watch Matlock at the end of the night. Like, that's what you like to do, and that's fine. That's your
Exactly.
marriage. That's
Yeah.
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh my God, hilarious. So who are we gonna fuck, marry, kill this week? What if we fuck, marry, killed celebrity couples?
Couples?
Yeah, since we were just talking about like couples that we ship.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you guys think about
I
that?
don't know.
Sure.
We
You're
just
editing this.
We just
Yeah,
talked
we were
about,
all over the place.
We
Sorry.
are. No, yeah, it is. It's pretty. It's fine. But yeah, like we were just talking like
Celebrity
couples that we ship and that cannot break up.
Okay. I'm here for that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So, like, what? Jada?
Jada and Will,
Okay.
Goldie and
Yes.
Kurt,
Mm-hmm.
and what's another long term?
We just did Tom Hanks.
Yeah,
we
we
can't
can't
do him
do them.
again.
Yeah.
So for our third, our good friend Brian helped us out. We're gonna go with Dax Shepherd and Kristen Bell,
Ugh,
because I would be sad if they split
I would
up.
too.
Dax and Kristen, Will and Jada,
Okay.
Goldie and Kurt.
And they've gone through
Ooh,
some
fuck,
shit
Mary,
too. Like
kill.
Dax and Kristen, like he got sober while they were together.
Yeah, they're cute.
You know, so
Okay,
yeah.
I think I got mine.
Ooh.
Okay, you go.
I am going to marry Kurt and
Goldie.
Oh,
Okay.
I know.
even though they don't apparently like marriage. So, but I'm here for that. I like
Yeah.
You're
that
gonna
is-
long-term
Oof.
commit.
I'm a long-term commit to them so hard.
They're
I love
like-
them so much.
You know, like how like Quentin Tarantino soundtracks sound. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they've just got that fucking dope like
Yeah.
60s Mustang
Yes.
vibe to them that I ship so hard.
Oh,
I love it.
I'm
I
here
love
for
it.
it.
too. Mhm.
I am going to fuck Dax and Kristen Bell.
Okay.
Both
Okay.
hot.
Mhm.
Fucking here for both of them.
Yep.
Even though they're both from Michigan. I'm not even going to hold it against them.
Whoa.
I know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know. You know. And I'm going to kill Will and Jada. It
Okay.
sounds like they have enough problems.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
They don't need to add me to it.
I feel like Will and Jada do the most fun stuff. Although Kurt and Goldie
Yeah.
probably have done some wild, shit.
shit back in the day.
They have
got
done some
stories on
No.
stories
Wild
on
shit.
stories.
For sure.
You know.
Oh God, this is really fucking hard, actually. Because I thought I was gonna
Thought it was going to be easy, didn't you?
I did. You know what? I'm gonna marry Kristen and Dax
Okay.
because I think that their relationship seems really fun.
I want to see a sloth video with you.
Yes,
too.
just crying my
Yes.
face off. I mean, that's just me on a normal Saturday morning
This
watching
seems
cat
right.
videos,
Yeah.
to be honest. Like,
Yeah,
yeah. Like, they seem like fun. Like, they seem like they're going to make me laugh all the time. They're going to make me pancakes with smiley faces on them.
Yep.
Like, I am going to marry
And the
them.
smiley face will be made out of chocolate chips.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I'm
not blueberries.
super.
'cause they
No,
ain't-
yeah, it's gonna be whipped cream and chocolate chips.
Yeah.
Like, yes,
Let's not be
let's
stupid.
do that. Yes, give it to me IHOP style. I like it. And I'm gonna fuck Will and Jada because I
Okay.
feel like, first of all, both in great shape.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
shit.
I would have
They
to do
look
literally no
great.
work. They could both just hold me up
Yeah.
the whole time. Like,
Yeah.
That's
because
true.
I don't have the strength, but they do.
They
Like, you guys
definitely
can
Shit,
do.
just
Jada for sure. I mean, like, you've seen those
Yes,
arms?
they're
Damn.
muscly
I'm
as
like-
fuck.
I'm all, as I jiggle my underarm,
Yeah,
I'm like,
between
arms are
her and
goals.
Angela Bassett,
Oh.
I'm
Oh,
like,
yeah,
arm
just-
goals.
I would-
hashtag arm goals all fucking
three-way
day.
with Angela Bassett and Jada.
Oh my
Oh,
god!
The only other one,
you dropped it down.
the only other one who could rival the arm situation, and I have too much respect for her to speak too much on this, but fucking Michelle Obama.
I knew you were gonna get. I knew you were
That
Yes.
bitch's arms are like, wow.
Yeah.
But okay, so yeah, I'm gonna fuck Will and Jada, and it's
gonna. Oof.
I feel very bad about it. But you know what? Like, here's the thing.
Wow.
You know what? I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna
Ouch.
just go ahead and
It hurt.
pull the plug on Kurt and Goldie. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Ooh.
no. Oh, we
take.
are all three different.
Oh.
80.
Okay.
Yeah, you're like, bye bye, dum dum.
Bye bye, Tum Tum.
So I'm gonna marry Will and Jada.
Okay.
All right.
I've been watching Red Table Talk.
You're in it. You're
I
there for
feel
it.
like they have an unconventional setup, but what makes them
They're
work
putting the
so
work
well
in.
is they're putting the work in and
Okay.
they're doing the communication, and that fucking that turns me on
Yeah.
big time.
Yeah.
So I'm here for that. I'm all in. I take my vows with Will and Jada. I'd be
All
happy to
right.
be
Okay.
number
I
three.
take you.
I take you and you. And so then I think I wanna play with Dax and Kristen.
Yeah, they're gonna again whipped cream. I see whipped cream in the bedroom as well. I see.
I feel like they get high before.
Yes.
Don't they look like the couple that
100.
tokes before they just like they look like weird trippy hippie sex.
Yeah.
Also, I've been watching Bless This Mess.
Yeah.
Because there's only like a limited number of things I can watch while I'm like at work.
Yeah.
And that's one of them. And
I don't know what that is.
it's a new show with Lake Bell and Dax Shepherd.
Oh, I like Lake
and I
Bell.
love Lake Bell. I love Lake Bell. And like Dax Shepherd is shirtless quite a bit, and
his
he's
body is
jacked.
great.
Like he's actually
honestly
super jacked.
The one in my that couple that I'm like into though is Kristen.
Oh,
I
for
think Kristen,
125%.
Kristen is the one that is definitely. I'm like
Hell yeah.
Dax. Oh, whatever, that's fine. But she is gorge
110%.
and so funny, and that's who I ship in that relationship more than the other. But and then, yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow. Ouch.
And I love them.
I know.
But you know what? They've
But I
had a
want
good
the-
long run. They
Yeah.
really have.
Yeah.
Like I feel like if we were to have to pull that
if
lever,
it was back in the day, Goldie and Kurt, it would be a different story. I'd be killing
like
Dax and Kristen.
overboard,
Yeah.
overboard.
Yeah,
Goldie
if
and
it was
Kurt.
if it was 80s Goldie and Kurt, completely different story, because that's who I would marry.
Yes.
Honestly.
Lake Bell isn't who I think she is. Who's the actress that's kind of young, red hair? Really pretty, but a horrible
Bella
actress.
Thorne.
That's who I was
Oh,
thinking
she's
of.
fucking awful. Yeah, no, she's terrible. No, Lake Bell's wonderful.
Yes.
And
Sorry.
super
I
funny.
was like,
Yeah.
I don't think that's the right person.
Oh.
I was giving you some side eye when you said that. So
Well, there you go. Well, should we take 5 and come back with some stories?
Okey
Yes,
dokes.
ma'am. And we're back. Wow, I had like a wine glass to my lips. I was like, oh
You
shit.
were on it.
Oh no. All right, I'm ready for stories. You go first this time, Cass?
Yep. Because I have the crazy in love. Okay. So this story is titled, "Can You Tell the Bartender I Ran Out of Toilet Paper?" This story is kind of the story's kind of funny to me because I have never heard anything like this. It's
Okay.
pretty random. Okay. This was one of my first times matching on Tinder, and man, did I ever regret it. This girl, maybe a guy for all I know, asked if I wanted to meet up at a bar, and it wasn't that far from me. Plus, I had nothing going on that evening, so I went. When I got there, I messaged her to let her know that I had arrived, and she replied almost instantly saying that she was there, waving at me. I looked around the bar pretty stupidly, and the bar was pretty packed that evening, so it looked even more embarrassing. I messaged her and said that I don't see her. She then replied almost instantly again, saying that she went down to the bathroom and will be up soon. So I ordered a beer and got weirdly enough, she messaged me right after I got my drink, asking if I could get her one too. So I asked the bartender for another beer. It's about 10 minutes now since I got the beers and she still hasn't come out. I messaged her and asked if everything was okay. She then replied moments later asking if I could get the bartender, let the bartender know that the ladies' room is out of toilet paper. I let him know.
Why would you do that on a first date? Like, listen, I'll figure it out before asking a man I've never met to like get me some
you can
toilet
have
paper.
like somebody else coming in the bathroom that you're like get the like paper towels like to wipe your
Yes,
hands or something,
yes.
or just shake it off.
Yeah, listen.
Do like Taylor
unless
Swift.
You have a
Shake it off.
unless you have a much messier situation. But
Yeah. Because it was a while. He said 10 minutes later.
oh no,
I let him
10 minutes.
I let him know, and he sent someone down. Moments later, the guy with the toilet paper comes back up and says to the bartender that there's no one in any of the restrooms.
What?
It was at that moment I knew I was being played for a fool. So I told the bartender what happened, and he said, "Wow, that's fucked up. Don't worry about the drinks. They're on me."
Oh,
I
happy
ended up
ending.
sharing the second beer with a guy who was sitting alone watching the game, Sebastian. He was pretty swell guy, so there was an evening wasn't a total bummer. He's also a Leafs fan, so I commend him for that. But anyways, moral of the story: we need more Sebastians and cool bartenders in this world. Is that
I would have really
Do you
liked
think she
to-
got embarrassed and like ran out the back?
or do you think that this person was like fucking fake from
I think
the
they were
very
fucking. I think they were
beginning?
fake from the beginning and fucking with him on purpose.
You think
like,
so?
Yeah.
That's kind of like
Whoa.
somebody like that's weird. I'm like I've never heard of anything.
I don't know,
like
but you know
that.
what? I feel like there's got to be someone out there who gets some kind of like perverse power from like making people do shit IRL when you're like sitting at home eating Doritos on your couch watching Great British Bake
That
Off.
is insane.
It's the
You know?
most
Like-
bizarre thing though. I'm like I've never heard. I'm like how fucking funny is that? It's
Wow.
so weird.
All right, are we ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. This just happened last night. I've been talking to Brian.
I'm assuming fake name.
Fake name? Yes.
Okay.
Okay. I've been talking to Brian for a month or so after we matched on Tinder, and we've had some truly great conversations. He finally asked if we'd like to meet, so we ended up going to a board game bar. Fun.
That
Love
sounds
board game bars.
Me too. That sounds
Best time.
perfect.
Yes.
Brian, and also a good first date, I feel like.
Yeah.
Because you have something to do. Like, you know, if
You
we're
can
just,
talk.
You can talk. You can, if you're nervous, you've got something else to like put your mind on. I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
Brian was super sweet and played all of the gentlemanly moves, opened the car door for me, pulled out my chair, paid for my drink. All of these were unexpected, but certainly appreciated, and I was buttered up. The date itself was a bit lackluster. His friend was at the bar, so we ended up joining his friend and playing this ridiculously confusing tabletop game for several hours.
Oh, shit.
All right, listen. I'm gonna
Okay,
pull the plug
like,
on that. We're not playing Risk.
I was thinking Risk.
Jesus, like no.
Like, God damn it.
If we all need to have like a food break
Australia.
and like leave the table and come back, that
Yeah.
game's too long
It's too long.
for a bar.
Yeah.
It is too long. And I had to be walked through every step. That's also annoying. Like, I like learning new games, but if it's overly complicated and I'm really feeling like every step needs to be explained to me the whole time, I'm not having fun.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here for.
Pick
Right.
up the Connect 4 and let's
Come
move the fuck
get a
on.
fucking giant Jenga and let's do this shit. That's
fun.
it. Be done with
Exactly.
it.
Don't
we-
need to be talked through that.
And then, you know, we just got done saying that this was a really good first date move, but she's saying because the game was so complicated, we had no time to talk or really get to know each other.
Yeah.
Because he was just like explaining the game to her the whole time. And his friend was there. So they were
Yeah.
probably
Oh,
like
and
shooting the
what
shit.
is more fun than someone like
wheel.
explaining stuff to you like for hours on end?
Honestly, it like low key makes me like, I didn't realize this about myself until I was working kind of like an engineering computer job recently. And this guy there, like, bless his heart, it wasn't his fault, but like his way of explaining shit to me made me want to like punch him in the nose.
Yep.
Like, there's sometimes when people are like telling, it's, I don't know if it's like this primal, like, don't tell me what to do.
Right.
Yeah. There's a reason why
You're not my
I
real
know
dad.
how to say that in
not
like
my real
several languages. That's
Yeah, don't
literally
tell me
my
what to do.
favorite phrase.
I want to like punch you in the face. But anyway, it's not his fault. He was just trying to teach me stuff. But anyway, we had no time to talk or really get to know each other until the bar closed and he drove me home. That's where it got weird. On the drive home, he asked me if I've heard of e-commerce. Then ensued a long spiel about how e-commerce is the way of the future and is heading brick and mortar businesses like Walmart are losing millions of dollars. He said he was becoming an entrepreneur and starting his own business. He wants to retire by 30 and live off residual income for the rest of his life. I fucking
Sounds like an MLM. Call your dad.
amen.
Yep.
It's a
Call your
pyramid
dad.
scheme. When I asked him what kind of business he was starting, he would give me a super vague answer and just say, "It's a business." No. No.
I hope that's what he filed with the patent office. And all
Business.
this.
It's a business.
Well, it's like last week whenever that guy was like, CEO. It's like, that's not a thing, dude.
No.
Like, you have to be more specific than that.
It's not how this works.
A business.
Yeah.
Brian continues to talk about how doctors, what I'm going to school for, and engineers are wasting their lives because they don't have time to enjoy their income.
Ooh, well, that's
saving lives.
it's another
time
thing.
wasted.
So this guy went from like explaining like an overly complicated tabletop game
Mansplaining a game to her,
into
yes.
like demeaning her life choices,
Negging her.
Ooh.
Yeah, he's really hitting all the
It's
marks here.
really.
Sounds like a winner.
Soup's
Yeah.
sexy, if you ask me. We arrive home. I thank him for the fun night. He kissed me, and oops, I invited him inside and sealed my fate.
Hey, you know what? Like
Happens to the best of
it
us.
happens to the best of us. You get lonely, you get horny. It's
You've
you know
spent several hours drinking beer, playing a fucking game you didn't want to be playing.
You're
a
like
little tipsy.
maybe I'll get a little something out of this.
Jesus Christ.
No judgment here.
Yeah. He sat down on my bed and he busted out everything he's learned about, quote, success and leadership and association with the right people. He asked me questions like, What's more valuable, time or money? You can earn back the dollar you spent, but you can never earn back time. As somebody who has sat through a several hours long timeshare presentation that was pulled directly from the timeshare presentation booklet. That's some bullshit. He talked about dreams with a plate metaphor. Some people shrink their dreams to match their plate. He showed me a picture of him and his family at a, quote, business convention. And he wouldn't say, what business?
You're like, what field?
Yeah.
Details.
Can I have a vowel? Like, give me something.
Can I buy
a
vowel?
But he did hint that the business he's starting would give him an all expenses paid trip to Disneyland.
Oh, no.
Congratulations.
Oh, well, with that kind of money coming in.
Jesus. I mean, you could literally get a part-time job.
You just get a job
at Disney and they'll give you the same fucking thing.
Right.
I felt like I was the audience for some motivational speaker routine, and I honestly couldn't even get a word out. At this point, I'm doubting that he's starting a legitimate business because the over-the-top motivational speech gave me some brainwashed MLM vibes.
Yeah.
That's correct, madam. What do you think this could be? I looked into Amway and I found some articles about e-commerce that seemed to be likely.
Oh no, Amway.
Oh, no, he's an Amway.
Oh my God.
No, I mean, how many? I feel like this is probably the third or fourth one like story we've gotten that like has devolved into an MLM pyramid
MLM stories are my fucking favorite.
Wow.
Mine too. And it's like that. I know we've shared like a flirty fishing before where it's not just MLMs, but like religion and stuff like that too.
Yeah, they're trying to hook you. Yeah, in some way.
Woof, like
they're like, I'll
I don't
pay
wanna
for
go
your
to
drink.
Church. I don't want to buy a timeshare. I don't want.
I mean, it does feel like the
like,
dating version of hooking you for a timeshare.
Yeah.
Which is like, we're going to ply you with drinks.
Yeah.
We are going to offer you a free trip. Whereas this is like, I'm going to open the door for you. I'm going to make plans. I'm going to buy your drinks all night. And now you have to sit through a 2-hour presentation of me talking about my quote unquote business.
I don't like this.
No.
Ugh.
Okay, well, we got this submitted through our email. And this is from Alan, who says, it's public, it's out there. Go ahead and say my first name.
Oh, shit. Okay. All right, Alan. Hi.
So I'm like, dude, ballsy. Okay. So I'm going to start. He sent 2 short ones. I'm going to start with the first one and then close with a very intense
it's a
one.
multi-parter.
It is.
Shit.
This first one is called The Elementary School Principal. He says, first, I met this woman at South Point Casino after talking on the phone for a bit, picking there because I had a horse show going on at South Point. We had a few or more than a few drinks and went down to the horse show, and she was going home. I walked her to her car, and first base ended up being like teenagers in a car with no place else to go but in her SUV.
That's fun.
That's always fun.
I like that. I like that a lot.
I've made out in so many cars this year. And I was like literally like, I'm 16 again.
Making
Just,
out in cars is fun.
I know.
I mean,
Oh
you
my
did
God.
tell us a story about how one time you had sex like in a very uncomfortable way in a car. And I was
Yes.
like, that
My
doesn't seem
virginity in a
good.
car.
Really?
Yeah.
And you lost yours on a park bench. I'm so
on a
boring.
park bench. Yeah, I gave my first blowjob in a car.
Yeah.
Honda Supra with doors in the background. The Doors. I think it was like the Doors' greatest hits or whatever. And I'm just like trying to figure out how to give a blowjob.
I don't remember where I gave my first blowjob, but I do remember when I was first was ate out.
I remember that
was
too.
It was on a picnic table in a fucking.
What the fuck, you guys? Beds exist. Both of you.
Yeah, but we were.
Yeah,
But
because both of you,
we had
it's
to-
like benches, cars, picnic tables. I'm like,
I'm
guys,
still living with
all
my
of these
parents,
things
though.
happened
Yeah.
in a bed for me. Like sex happened in
I was
a
at a
bed.
campground.
Blowjobs happened in a bed. First time I was ate out was in a bed. Just saying.
I don't actually remember the first time I was ate out. That's the one I don't remember.
I do because I didn't know what the fuck was happening. I had no, like, I was like, what?
I think it was the first time I was like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was good. I mean, I remember enjoying myself. Let's put it that way.
I did not enjoy that until recently.
What?
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. I'm sorry, Alan. We are so sorry. We got sidetracked.
No, I don't know why. It's like, anyways. Okay. So all was fun, and we had pulled into where no one should be and next to my horse trainer's truck. That was until my horse trainer returned to stay in my horse trailer for a bit and saw us having fun and then quickly left. But the last date I went with the above lady, I went to her superintendent's Christmas party. Oof. But now we talked about this.
No.
Like going to...
You got to know someone real well before you take them to a company party.
Work parties.
So... Reminder what the title of the story was. The elementary school teacher.
No.
Oh,
right?
God.
Oh, no.
The next sentence is, I had never seen so many drugs in my life than I saw at that party.
Oh, no.
From vice principals to superintendents doing anything from MDMA to cocaine and everything in between. I want to work
They
at
just
this
had
school.
one of those big bowls full of pills that like teenagers have.
Do you know what song it put in my head? It put that Usher song in my head. Yeah. I'm just like, Jesus, with this.
Well, you know what?
Damn.
I bet you that's what working with kids for like an extended
would make
period
sense
does
too,
to
lots
you.
of
Like
drugs.
you're
I
like,
know, me too.
Jesus Christ! If I have to deal with one more second grader eating glue, I'm going to actually blow my face
For me,
off.
I think the worst would be like 7th grade.
Oh.
I'd be like,
Hell
I'd be
yeah.
like,
Middle
fucking
school,
doing bumps
fuck
and be like,
that.
all right, we're gonna talk
So let me tell you
about
about
the
the
Magna Carta.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the Constitution. All right, let me tell you. Bill of Rights. Let's go.
I will say, like, yeah, middle school got to be the worst. But I was having a conversation with a friend of ours where she teaches high school. And I'm like, if you are even a moderately attractive young woman who teaches high school or middle school, like, God fucking bless
Oh
you.
my God.
Because, like, high school and middle school boys, animals.
Animals.
All of
Yeah.
it. No, thank you.
So she says, I found out later that this woman was always in charge of acquiring the party favors.
Jesus.
So that was the point. I said, bye-bye. So then the closer, the title of it is called The Murder One.
What? Yikes.
Yes.
Well, then.
Well, then, it is my worst date. So, I mean, he has to still be alive. He wrote this in. So, spoiler
His
alert.
murder.
Spoiler alert.
Unless ghosts can send emails. So, yeah, he says, when I was living in Houston, there was a lady that leased some salon space for me in our building. She introduced me to a masseuse and said, you guys need to go out. I was single at the time, so I thought, okay. She had already met a bunch of friends, and after some interesting incidents, I figured the best course of action was probably not to see her anymore. 2 of my friends said,
I'm sorry, I'm going to need more information about those incidents.
I know. I'm like, so what? That's like that you yada, 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 the best part. But
Right.
Not really. But he says, 2 of my friends said, why aren't you seeing her anymore? I told them she was BSC. They said, what is that? And I said, batshit crazy. And that I didn't need a Miss Claus in my life that wanted me to have sex in costume on Christmas Eve with my friends not knowing, but in the room type of deal.
Whoa. I'm sorry, because at first I was
Oh.
like, so at first I was like, okay, like that's fine. Like you want to cosplay and
Right.
fuck with him as Santa Claus. Like,
Yep.
what's the big deal here? Like, it's, I mean, maybe a little weird that you have a Santa Claus fetish, but like, I feel like that's been a running joke on sitcoms since the 90s. Like, whatever.
You're right.
But it's the fucking in a room with people you know. And without them knowing, like that's a very specific fetish. Like, I want a costume. I want us to be fucking in public in front of people
Levels.
you know without them knowing.
It's
love many levels.
you guys. Please don't ever do this.
I will not. I will not, ma'am.
Nope.
Like that's
You are not in danger of that happening. Not for me.
Right. Drug use and drinking was also a huge issue with her. About 5 years later, I get an email from a friend.
5 years is a long time
It's
to wait for this.
a long time.
Did-
And all it is a link to a news article.
Oh.
So I'm going to pull it up. Because he's
shit.
like, what
Since
is
the
this
article.
What is
Link
this
the article.
What is this news article? Anna Trujillo guilty in Houston's stiletto murder.
Single white female.
No.
A Houston jury found Anna Trujillo guilty today in the so-called stiletto murder of her boyfriend who was battered to death by her spiked heel shoe.
Oh, no. I mean, maybe somebody should tell Japan. Am I right?
Excellent throwback.
Thanks, callback. Nice callback.
Prosecutors allege Trujillo, 45, fatally bludgeoned her boyfriend, Dr. Stefan Anderson, by hitting him in the head 25 times with the heel of her stiletto shoe.
Not even the pointy part.
25 times.
I mean, was it the pointy part or just blunt force trauma?
When an argument allegedly broke out that night, she says she tried to defend herself. She grabbed the closest weapon at hand, her high heel.
Wait, does it say stabbed or hit?
It says stabbed.
Stabbed. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it's
the pointy part, the pointy end. Stuck him with the pointy end. Yikes.
25
Wow.
times. It was an
That's
accident.
a lot of times. Like, I feel like you get a couple good hits in and you can run away if it's self-defense, right?
Yikes.
No, she was convicted. A neighbor reported hearing a man scream at 2:13 a.m., but never heard a woman yell.
Oh, shit.
Ooh.
Yeah, the jury is expected to hear more evidence in the punishment phase on Wednesday before deciding on a sentence for Trujillo. She faces up to life in prison.
Oh, so hold on. When was this? Like recently?
This article is from April 8th, 2014.
Oh, all right. So we need to do a follow-up on
I know,
that
we
at
do
some
need
point,
to follow
'cause
up
she's
on
definitely
that.
been sentenced.
So
Yeah.
my Crazy in Love tonight is about... no.
Oh, I guess. Oh my God. So he goes on to say she stabbed her new boyfriend that she was living with multiple times with a stiletto shoe, and she has her own Snapped episode.
Oh, are you so honored? Like, wow. I
Wow.
mean, guys, just so you know,
I need to watch this.
this woman was molding young minds. She was.
No, this
it's
was
different-
not.
different
This is
person.
the different
oh,
person.
Jesus. Okay, I'm
so
so
it's
sorry.
two. So yeah, she was just somebody, a friend of a friend that was like set up, and he's like,
Yikes.
oh, there was some interesting stuff that happens. Let's not see each other anymore.
Yeah.
You
And then
wanted
she's
me
like,
to wear a Santa Claus outfit and
I'm dodging
truck
this
in front of
bullet.
my friends. And no,
I'm
thank
dodging
you, man.
that shoe.
That's exactly right. You swipe to the left, swipe to the right.
Watching that shoe. Yikes.
That's not what we're dodging in this case. That's for
Oof.
sure. Well, thank you so much for
Woof.
sending that in. Woo! All right, crazy in love time.
All right. Jesus. On that note, I took a little different direction this week on Crazy in Love.
Ooh.
Because I'm kind of fascinated with cults and
Who among us is not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
and the idea of getting so invested and brainwashed into a thing that you would do something maybe so out of character or so out of, outlandish because of following someone. And so I am going to do Charles Manson.
All right. Bring it.
Okay. All right.
And here's why. Because I think that when you think about cults, it's not very crazy in love all the time. It's more, there's a lot of brainwashing, a lot of that involved, and it can turn into something. But
I
what
think a lot of the same principles apply. It's like it's a devotion to a person or an idea.
yeah.
I
think that there's, it's funny because as much as Charles Manson has been such a part of our culture in such a strong way for, I think, all of our lives, like Charles Manson's
for
like,
sure.
you know what I mean? Like it's,
Yeah, he was
could
definitely
you
the
even mention a
boogeyman.
more iconic serial killer? I mean, everyone knows about Charles Manson.
And he's not a serial killer. It's the thing.
That's the crazy thing,
Yeah.
right? Like, honestly, there's no proof that he actually ever murdered anyone.
no,
He's
I mean-
actually never actually murdered anyone.
not
Personally.
that we can prove. But there is
Oh yeah,
an
because the
amazing
guy that he thought he killed,
He didn't kill.
didn't
Did
die.
you
Yeah.
ever listen to You Must Remember This? Did a 10-parter
Jesus.
on not just Charles Manson, but because You Must Remember This is all about like Hollywood in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
It was about Charles Manson and everything that was going on around him at that time.
Oh,
Yeah.
kind of
And-
like what's his name's doing with the film.
Yeah,
Summer
Once
of
Upon a Time
69
in-
or Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Kind of, yeah, but like a much, much, much more like deep dive,
And
you
true.
know, true.
The only deep
situation.
dive I've done on Charles Manson was Helter Skelter.
Yeah. Oh, did you read
you
that?
guys should
At
listen
like
to
way too young.
Anthony and I listened to this 10-parter like on a road trip, like driving. It's so good. You guys should definitely listen to it. But like he was such a highly violent individual that it wouldn't surprise me if he had killed somebody and we just don't know about it. But
yeah,
in
no
the
shit.
in like the famous case, there's no proof that he ever did anything, which is bananas because when you grow up,
You think he is a serial killer. That's,
that's
in your
how
mind.
it was kind of framed. Like he's a maniac. Like
And honestly, I've never done the deep dive because I felt like, I think growing up, one of my friends, Kylie, who actually listens to the show, so shout out. I feel like at the time was like into a lot of things, like, and I feel like Charles Manson was one of them. And like, so I think that everything I heard about him was so secondhand that I never really got into any of it in a deep dive way. Like I never really paid attention much to it. I think I felt like I had friends who were already there and they were like, oh, you're into that. Whatever.
Yeah.
You'll tell me.
Yeah.
Like I don't need to know more
well,
than this.
it was so like deeply a part of like our pop culture and
Yeah.
like the zeitgeist of all of our lives that I think we figured we knew.
Yeah.
You know, I think I was probably almost in high school before I realized that Charles Manson didn't kill anybody in the Helter Skelter murders. Like,
Guys ever watch the Diane Sawyer interview?
No.
yes, that man is
Oh, yeah.
bonkers.
Yeah.
You know what? It's funny during looking through all this research, there's so many like interviews with him and things like that. And honestly, and it's like Inside a Madman and like, you know, take a peek at, you know, and honestly, I was like, I'm not interested in listening to anything he's got to fucking say because he's clearly a manipulator. He's clear. And I just honestly,
It's not
in
even
my
really
research, I
that.
just couldn't.
It's not even really that interesting.
I don't
It's
wanna know
honestly
anything.
more
It's not.
annoying than anything else because
Right.
it's just somebody who is so desperately
Rambling.
like trying to pull you over.
Yeah.
and it doesn't work outside of this like
This
drug fueled
one
setting.
specific time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. In history and in life, it doesn't work at all anymore.
I think the fascinating thing for me was though, when I look at him and you hear the stories about these women who followed him, you're like, this guy? Like, he doesn't have this, like, to me, like, I wouldn't look at him and think, hot. He's not good looking to me.
Oh no!
But
neither was L. Ron Hubbard, and I mean,
right. Well, I mean, he clearly had like a charisma, I guess, but I just, I don't, he's also too, he's like 5'2".
no, he's tiny, but like
a small dude.
He was a musician. We've talked about that guy who's
Yeah.
gonna pull out his fucking acoustic guitar
Yeah.
in a group setting.
That
That was
how I
him.
feel
He
about
was-
that.
He
Maybe
was
that's why.
connected to like famous people.
Which barely.
that?
And
Barely.
then was that, so let me,
Barely.
let
Yeah.
me put
Okay.
it-
Proceed,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So, a little bit of history on him as a whole. He was born in actually Cincinnati, Ohio, funny enough, which I did not know. He was born in November of 1934, Cincinnati, Ohio. He was born to a mother who had a very criminal background. There were some reports, and here's the thing about this: there's so much mythos about this story that it's like pulling different things from different arenas, between Wikipedia, between multiple articles. Oh my God, there's like a bazillion things written. So
Yeah.
I got a lot of information from obviously Wikipedia. I got a lot of information on Inside. Fox just did a new documentary about him. It was Inside the Manson Family Murders. So I honestly, the list of things is endless that you can go on this deep dive. But with that being said, because of the nature of this story as being such a part of our culture and such a part of there's so many stories.
Well, at
You know?
some point, there are certain like crimes and certain murders that become almost like an American mythology, and I feel like that is a
It's
or
kind of like our Jack the Ripper.
yeah, a cultural mythology.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like that's what's happened here to some degree because, and they get into this in that, like, you must remember this series, it was used so much as like a cautionary tale
Yes.
of like, this is what happens when you guys
for madness.
well, and just like Summer of Love, the downfall. This was the end of all of it. Like
Yeah.
this was what was like signified being like, we're done with the hippie generation and counterculture and, like
pushed
this
us
is
into
what
the
happened.
70s.
Yeah.
So anyway, his father is listed as a colonel. I can't even remember the last name. Oh, it's just totally escaping me. Anyway, but it's like not even a first name, or his name is Colonel. That's what I can't decipher. I've heard both things. His actual name is Colonel, or he wasn't listed as a first name and it was just Colonel blank. And so I've heard both of those things. But the point being is that he had no father. His mother was in and out of
And she was
jail.
young, too.
She was very young when she had him. I believe 16 years old when she had him. She was in and out of, detention centers of all sorts. So he had a little troubled childhood, and committed his first robbery at 12 and his first armed robbery at 13. He, like I said, never knew his dad. And again, his mom was a criminal. And of his first 32 years of life, he had spent 17 of these in reformatories or prisons.
Yep.
Can you fucking imagine? You're 32-year-old.
That was his school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
got
have-
schooled on how to be a con man and how to be a criminal.
So true.
well, and
As long as you go from first grade to,
he very
senior.
deliberately did it too.
Yeah.
Though. Like he wasn't dumb, and he like deliberately read like how to make friends and influence people because
yeah.
he was like, he read that book and was like, I'm going to use this,
I got this.
like to my advantage to like win
Almost
people
if
over.
you're like a super troubled child whose like mom is going in and out of jail, and
his mom, he says his mom tried to sell him for
Right.
like,
Beer.
for beer.
Yeah.
Which is like,
which
who
is
knows
which
if that
would,
happened,
which would
but
be
yeah.
a safer place for you as a child.
Yeah.
Well, he
know?
says he would have rather stayed in institutions.
Yeah.
Like whenever they were like, you have to leave, he
Yeah.
was like, no,
And
he didn't
I
want
was
to.
there. Yeah.
They should have kept him in there
Well,
because
and
then we wouldn't
honestly-
have had this problem.
Yeah, but I mean, 17 years of your 32 years of life, I mean, you, I guess, probably partially do start to depend on that. That's probably the only thing in your life that was dependable.
Yeah.
You know,
that
if
had
you really
a
think of it.
stable schedule, that
Yeah.
had rules, that had any kind of
Yeah.
Well, they talk
He
about
had
it
a
all
real family.
They talk about it all the time with like inmates who have been in prison for a very, very, very long time. Like there was one in Ear Hustle, I think it's that podcast
Yeah,
that
it is
is
Ear Hustle,
produced in prison by
San Quentin,
prisoners.
right?
I think so. And there was one that was so sad because it was a guy who was like, I had to start getting my mind around when I knew I was going to be let out after 25 years or something, how to hug another person. Like, because I couldn't remember like what it was like to hug somebody.
Oh my
And
God.
like, it's just like you get so used to being in jail, you can't
Yeah.
figure out like how to function as like
And
a normal person.
Yeah. And yeah, wow. So in 1967, he had been released from his latest prison stint. He was in jail for 7 years for a parole violation and something else. And he had received permission to move to San Francisco. And at that time, he was living kind of on the streets and was making money by playing music and busking basically, and, begging for money. And he met Mary Brenner. She was a 23-year-old graduate from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And she was working as a library assistant for UC Berkeley. And they, kind of met. He was charismatic. They, kind of fell for each other, and they ended up moving in together. Now, again, there was some back and forth on whether, like, how this kind of unfolds. But the way that Wikipedia unfolded it was that she took some kind of like persistence, but eventually he convinced her to allow more women to move in with them, and at some point had 18 women living with them in their home.
That's too many.
That is if you think about, again, someone like this who, I mean, he had to be very charismatic. He had to be like that level of, I mean, because honestly, if you look at him, is there anything that's exciting about him at all? Like, I don't.
But you know what?
I guess I don't get it.
I think that's a lot of the time the case. Like, I don't think that Ted Bundy's necessarily great looking. Like, he's fine looking.
He's an average looking dude.
He's a pretty average looking guy. I think that there's like a number of factors. Like, we did an episode of my other podcast on women and cults, and like, weirdly, you think about these women as being very like, you think about them a certain way, when in reality, the majority of women who join cults are overwhelmingly educated, middle class to upper class, and white.
And that's exactly what this cult ended up being. I mean,
right.
When you look at what the demographic is, it is mostly middle class women that have been drawn into this idea, and it's the summer of love. I mean, you're talking about the most prime time for people who are, looking for an outlet, and he's going after people who are a little bit vulnerable.
Right, who have family problems.
Sure.
I mean, so, and again, like, he deliberately read the book, How to Make Friends and Influence People, with the express like idea that he would go forward and manipulate people. Like, that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And like, young girls were a very easy target, not to mention the fact that he was like a full-on fucking misogynist that hid behind like hippie values.
Yeah.
But that's not, that's not like, real hippies were like, first of all, fuck the Manson family,
Mm-hmm.
One of the girls in the one of the shows I had watched describes him as like a heroin addiction, and she said like the feeling of inclusiveness and acceptance was the addiction. Was like he created this like culture of like, you're included here, and you're so
special.
important.
Yeah.
And that's the thing too, like when they talk about like how he starts to manipulate the minds of some of these people, it's like the idea of self and ego is completely thrown out the window, and that they become the goal is the whole, right? That it has nothing to do with you. You are no one. You are everything. But you are, it's like, again, this kind of mindset that you're kind of putting yourself into, that you take out your own self from the equation. You know what I mean? So, he is a wannabe musician, and he is absolutely fascinated by this idea that, he, wants to be a musician. He enjoys music. He plays guitar.
Makes me think of Hitler.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, the art.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to be an artist. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if maybe he had a hit single,
Oh, he
a
probably
lot of things would have been different.
He needed
It's-
like validation.
it's this.
He needed,
It's the same thing.
It does, and that's
yeah.
really where it does.
They're
take a
like
turn.
mediocre, and they can't handle being mediocre.
Yeah, so they're gonna be exceptional in any way that they feel like they can be exceptional. Yeah,
That's exactly right. And it really does take a turn toward that, because when you see, so he has got this incredibly large following of women. They end up making their way down to Los Angeles, and, his kind of, his group of this Manson family, right, that he starts to call them the family, these women kind of go out.
Which
And
also
this
is
kind
so
of where
fucking manipulative.
Of course.
Like, to call it a family, especially after so many of these people, but mostly women,
Mostly
were the ones
women,
who
yeah.
are mostly, and they're the ones who are most exploited in this situation. But
Right.
like, to call it a family after you are deliberately going after women who have left broken homes, who have left bad family situations, who maybe don't have good relationships with their fathers. It's so like deliberately
manipulative.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like, which, I mean, all of these cults are like, they're all like
Right.
that, but
I mean, and that is their goal. And I think you're absolutely right. I don't know that when I look at this story, do I think that Charles Manson started this as a way to become a serial killer? I don't think so. And I think that you're right, Christina. I think he started this and as the ultimate goal is to become, I think he wants to be, the
It's
next
just like
big
this-
musician, this
this
big
whole like feeling of being special, of this grandiosity about him. He's like the ultimate little man complex because he's short.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
like
you
the
also
fucking
just-
Napoleon complex.
You literally cannot give any person this much like adoration. Like
Yeah,
you just can't do it.
exactly.
I mean, like Jonestown started as something beautiful,
Yeah.
and like wonderful.
So many of these
but it's just
do.
like you cannot give one person this much like
power.
absolute control and
especially if
adoration.
that person, all they wanted was like a hug from their
Yeah,
mother
they
in
just
a
needed
stable
a
home
fucking
life.
kiss from their mommy.
Like literally, like is needs adoration on such a level that like a normal person can't fathom. So yeah, he's
Well, and at the time too, so the other side of this is that, you know, where they're talking about the free love movement, this is a very free love society. And, you know, the whole idea of this was like free love. And he really wanted to push people outside of their comfort zones.
and
And
the effect of acid too.
right. Which
Exactly.
I
Well,
guess-
I think it was like the perfect storm because
Yeah,
it was
there's a
just
lot.
like when this happened, he chose the right moment. It was like,
Oh, yeah.
it was just the perfect storm
It's
of
the
being
perfect-
like,
yes.
people are finally willing to open their minds just a crack. And he's like, I'm going to kick that fucking door down.
Yeah.
Me and
Yeah.
this LSD baby, we coming right on in.
So, you know, with that in mind, he's kind of, the way he acts is almost as though he's pimping out these women to people and to manipulate situations for
He
him.
was using women as currency, essentially.
Exactly.
Like it's
That's
fucked
exactly
up.
right. And in one of those ways, this is how he ends up meeting Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys. Two of the girls from the family had been hitchhiking on Sunset and got picked up by Dennis and ended up going back to his house. And not long after, then he comes over with a few more of these women that are part of his family. And, you know, again, he's using exactly right Keegan currency. Like he's using these women as currency. And, you know, they end up like staying with him. They wrecked Dennis Wilson's car.
Yep.
But Dennis Wilson is kind of opening doors for him and now is starting to connect him with people.
Get that taste of fame, baby.
Yeah, including Terry Melcher, who at the time was dating Candace Bergen and was also the son of Doris Day, and he's a big music producer. So, Dennis Wilson's like all about this guy's music. He's like this, you know, from everything I've seen and read, seemed like he was very into it, and he was like, you got something here, and he's like, I'm going to introduce you to Terry. Terry then is like invited out to this ranch that they're living at, which is called Spawn Ranch. Spawn Ranch is owned by a guy named George Spawn, and they had gotten access to this ranch because, well, more women as currency, it seems like, because they were given free housing to help out on the ranch, and apparently were doing sexual favors for this old, you know, like I think 81-year-old man or something at the time.
Yeah.
He was an old man.
super old.
And so this ranch, by the way, used to be like an old set for a lot of westerns. Yeah, westerns and things, which I'm like, I kind of want to go see this place. It sounds
I think it burned down.
Oh, did it?
I think it did too. Yeah.
Oh. Anyway, at any rate, he is letting them stay there and in this old Western studio set, which honestly, I'm like, it's kind of rad. If I'm honest.
Which also, like, yeah, like what a good fucking deal. You're just like, I can just live on this set without having to pay for shit.
Sounds
Cool.
good.
Thanks, Sandy, for
Thanks,
giving old dude
buddy.
a boot. BJ.
Right? Ugh.
Ew.
So anyway, Melcher goes out to the Spawn Ranch, thinking, you know, and in Charlie's mind, he's like, oh, this is an audition. And from every account, it's like he's super nervous and he puts on the show.
It sounds so awkward.
Oh, it
too.
sounds so fucking awkward. Can you imagine being poor Terry Melcher, who's like,
I know. He's like,
like cheese smiling, like we were just talking about last week when we were talking about like going to see some guy who's playing the pulls out his guitar.
yeah, like you're like you're making awkward eye contact. Like, great.
This will be over soon.
And yeah, it's not like you're in LA at that point. Like you're in the middle of nowhere at a fucking ranch or whatever. You're like, oh, God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I also see how not at all trying to like come from the perspective of any sympathy for Charles Manson. But I also see how if you grew up poor and you spent your whole life in institutions and you have this fucking guy who's like Doris Day's kid.
Yeah.
who
Money,
money came from money, and then your ego gets bruised by this person who you thought was your friend. Yeah, I mean, it was like everything about this story is just like the perfect storm. Like all of it is, because it's just like if any one part of it hadn't happened,
You're absolutely right.
I think none of it would have happened.
I completely agree with you. And I think that, Christina, what you said, like this whole Terry Melcher thing, he's really hanging his hat on this, right?
Yeah.
So after this whole, Charlie thinks is an audition, he drives Melcher back to his place in the Hollywood Hills on Cielo Drive. And, he is at this place where he's like, okay, this guy's going to call me. He said he's going to call me. But we live in LA, so we know what that means.
I'll have my people call your people.
Yeah.
You
No,
are
no.
never
I got
hearing
you.
from
I got
me.
you.
I'm
Yeah.
legitimately
again.
not holding my breath.
I'm literally changing my address.
Ghosting was invented in Los Angeles.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes, ma'am.
It goes way, way back.
Yes. Yeah, you know what? That sounds real good, Charlie. I'm going to give you a call. Let me think on it.
Yeah.
I'm going to put some...
I'll
Just
call
leave your
you.
number. No. Just leave it on the table.
Yeah.
Leave it on the table.
I'm going to put some numbers together.
Thank you.
See what-
I'm literally going to move houses so you can never find me again. Goodbye.
And he does, actually.
And yep, there we go.
So this is, this kind of Charlie's like, hey, reaches out to Dennis, like, haven't heard from Terry Melcher yet. Like, what's going on? And it's like kind of starting to spiral out. And he's starting to see like this isn't going anywhere.
Right.
And what he starts to do is he's basically taking this family and he's starting to like, and you hear these people talking about it now in posts where it's like suddenly everything's kind of taking a turn.
Mm-hmm.
And it no longer went from peace, love, and drugs and, we're all taking LSD trips and I'm going to preach to you because I'm Jesus incarnate and all these things. He starts to really enforce this message that he might be Jesus incarnate. He never says directly that he is, but what he does do is say everything but, which means that he implies that, they can't kill me because I've already been killed by them. And I've died for us already. And so he's planting these seeds. And, he's talking about in interviews too.
And also super racist, dude.
I was about to
we're
say,
gonna
just
go
like
there.
sprinkle in some
We're going
heavy
to,
racism.
We're going to get there. I'm unfolding it. I know you guys know
She's
this story.
weaving
I'm
a web.
unfolding.
Yes.
So he is again controlling them not only through just his sermons and speeches and things, but he's also controlling them, like you said earlier, Christina, through drugs. And he has admittedly to when he was interviewed in some interviews, he'd said, I was giving them full doses and I was taking like half doses because he's like, I truly wanted to be in control of the situation. He wanted to control what was happening. He wanted to control.
He's like, but I still wanted to have fun though. So I went ahead and took that
I'm gonna
half
have
dose.
I'm going to have fun.
Half fun. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the reason that the government was doing the same stuff at that time, like dosing people, like mind control through LSD or any kind of hallucinogenic drug was kind of a big thing back in that time.
Absolutely.
Do a lot of things. What's that Netflix documentary?
Is that
Wormwood?
Wormwood? Yeah, Wormwood.
I haven't seen that.
Anthony and I started watching it and I was like, this shit is heavy.
It's bananas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Charles Manson wasn't the only person dosing back in the day.
Sure.
Like
Well,
that.
it's a very easy way to control a population.
Absolutely.
There's a few ways and he did a lot of them, like especially with the women, like
Softening the mind.
he not only dosed the women, but he also like deprived them of food
And
like
sleep.
and hit them or let other people hit them and abuse them. And it's like it's very easy to get a hold of someone like that.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and two, you've exposed weaknesses in them at this point too, because part of this culture too is to break people down. If you were a woman, you had to sleep with a woman. If you were a man, you'd slept with a man. And that was part of breaking down your sexual experience and like not having any barriers. So you're breaking down all your walls and becoming your most vulnerable self in this cult.
Well, and you're isolated.
And
the
you're
only
isolated.
people that you have now are people inside.
Who are yes to everything else.
You know, you can't go to them and talk to them about any of this. You don't have family ties anymore. And there's shame. And like, I think that there's a way to like get beyond that shame is to just be like, I want to be doing this. I'm into this, and this is my choice because it makes it feel easier and like better.
Right.
Yeah. And you have a bunch of people who are, again, all in the same boat, right? Yeah. So further creating control and fear, he had convinced his family that there was a race war coming and that the quote blacks were going to be in control. He was trying to convince them that all the white man has been in control for so long, and it's now time for the black man to take control. But because the black man has been listening to the white man for so long, that now the black man aren't going to know what to do because they're not being told what to do. So the whole country is going to collapse.
But they're stronger. So they're going to rise up. They're going to kill all the... Because in this world, there's only two races, by the way, black and white. Mm-hmm. So they're going to rise up. They're going to kill all the white people. And then it'll just be us hiding out in the desert. And the black people are too dumb to understand how to govern themselves. So then we will rise up from our hole in the desert and then we'll be in charge.
Yeah. That's exactly where this is going.
Yep.
And you say it like that and you're like, how can a group
anyone
of like what 30 some people be, oh, this sounds right?
Well, it's also 1969, and I feel like
there is a race
people
tensions.
Like definitely were like,
well, and Charlie was always really, really racist.
Yeah,
like that wasn't
but,
something
like,
that he
most,
developed for
most
this.
white people during that time were like,
sure, but not in like the counterculture movement. Like they like led civil rights. It's just like this guy.
These people weren't really counterculture though.
Right.
They weren't hippies.
They weren't hippies.
They weren't hippies.
And most of these girls were just out of their parents' house.
Well, I mean, and for
picked them up.
One of them was
Fucking
14,
street.
and like
exactly.
I mean, like these are kids.
No, and
so they were
for
not.
whatever else Charlie managed to say about being like all about peace and love and all that shit, he was racist from the word fucking go.
Yeah.
Like he was always super, super, super fucking racist.
Yeah.
So it's not surprising that this is like where he went in order to get what he wanted.
Right. Yep.
All right. Anyway, so he is readying his family at this time for what he's calling Helter Skelter. Helter Skelter, as we all know, he gets from the White Album from the Beatles. There's been plenty said about this. I guess that the way I'm looking at this too is like, yes, I'm telling the story, but it's really is to me about the way that he is manipulating these women and the way I'm looking at it. I mean, he's creating a boot camp of sorts. When you see some of these videos that were taken in that original documentary that was done, I think it was in 1973, some of these women are they are in love. They're completely, it's not just even a brainwashed. Yes, they're brainwashed, but they're in love with this man. They believe him wholeheartedly and they are willing, like you're literally watching interviews with Squeaky Fromm, who is like completely like, she's saying, I'm ready to die for this man. I am ready and I'm willing to die for this man. So anyway, he's readying his family for this Helter Skelter. So the idea is, again, he got like pretty obsessed with the Beatles. He feels that at this point, from many stories about this, there is lots of talk that he was influenced. He thinks that the Beatles are talking to him. I will tell you that on some of the things that I watched, the guy who profiled him, the Mindhunter guy, whatever.
Yeah.
He was saying like, he's like, this guy's full of bullshit. And he was completely like, this is all garbage. He literally was like, I don't believe a fucking word he says. Like he doesn't believe it. And he knows what he's doing 100%. He talks like a madman, but this motherfucker knows exactly what he's doing.
I agree. Like he seems bonkers when you watch interviews with him. He really does. He seems like fucking bananas.
It's fake.
But I think
and that's what that guy said.
It's to pull as many people over as you possibly
What's
can
the
do.
guy, Joseph something.
John Douglas.
Is that who? Oh yeah, that's the guy who interviewed him. Yeah. Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
I knew you'd know. Of course you know. Also, when the fuck is that show coming back on? Because I love it.
I know.
So good.
That. Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of get down to the nitty gritty of the murders. The first murder is Gary Henman. Well, the first actual murder, because there was this guy who was shot by Charlie, who actually didn't die. So we're just going to go right into the actual murder as what people were convicted of. Bobby Beausoleil, there's a couple ways the story goes. The one that seems to be the most consistent is that he gets what he thinks are bad drugs, and he buys these drugs from Gary Henman, and that he's like selling them to this motorcycle gang. Apparently the drugs are bunk. He goes back and he says he goes back to get this money. And Charlie is called during this dispute. He brings a sword to dude's house, slashes dude's ear, leaves.
Stop killing people with swords.
Swords.
Like last week, Our Crazy in Love 2. Like,
Swords.
listen,
Swords.
it's the 20th and 21st centuries. You need to stop with the swords. It's enough.
And he didn't kill him with the sword.
But I mean,
He
yeah,
does cut his
yes.
ear.
Oh, but Jesus.
And so from the thing that kind of seemed the most consistent, it sounds like for fear of Gary telling on them. And this is from an interview I heard him speaking on. He says that he was kind of afraid that Gary's going to tell on these guys. He's going to get in trouble. And so he ends up stabbing Bobby. After cutting dude, Manson says Bobby says to Manson, "Why did you do that?" And he says, "To make you a man." And so that again, he kind of feels at that point that he has to do this thing. So, and again, for fear of Gary telling on them, he admits to stabbing Gary twice in the chest and kills him. They used his blood to write on political piggy and the Black Panther symbol on the walls of the house. And at that time, he says he's the one who started this kind of idea for Charlie, because at the time Charlie didn't think
you
about
so much.
Thank you, Bobby. Thanks.
No, but
Didn't think of the idea to start this race war. But then he's saying that Charlie gets this from him. And so Charlie's like, yes, we need to start this helter skelter thing. We got to get this up and running.
It's the oldest fucking rule in the book. Pin it on the black man. Like,
Exactly.
it's the easiest fucking thing.
Or if you're Jack the Ripper, pin it on the Jews.
Yeah,
It is.
Pin
It's
it
always-
on
I don't
like
know this.
the most
yeah.
persecuted group that you possibly can. And right now we have When They See Us just came out on Netflix. Like, it's the easiest fucking thing to do. Pin it on black
That's
people.
the Central Park 5.
It's about the Central Park 5. Yeah, it's just like,
I cannot even believe that prosecutor is still sticking by. That drives me nuts. But no, the Jack the Ripper case, that's what all the letters are like, talking about how the Jews were responsible. And then there's also that like writing on the wall right by one of the murders.
Oh, I didn't know
it's like,
that.
yeah. But it is. It's always like,
because you can outrage people immediately
Exactly.
by being like, you already don't like this group of people who doesn't look like you or
Yeah.
think like you. So
Right.
it's easy to be like, it couldn't have been an upstanding member of our community.
this guy's such a moron.
Ugh. So at any rate, Charlie is now at this place where he's like, yes, let's start this helter skelter. Let's get this ball rolling. You know what? He's like, I want to hurry up and take control. So let's get the world on fire ASAP. Let's kill all the other white people.
Can't
so that we
start
can-
the apocalypse.
Yes.
Really, it's not about that for him.
Right. When you really think about it, you're right.
When you
What is
really
it
think
about?
it's about the fact that he goes back to Terry Melcher's house, who doesn't live there anymore.
Right.
And he goes and murders the
And
Yeah,
that
no,
is
yeah.
on
revenge.
August 8th, 1969.
It's about a small man whose ego was fucking bruised.
He goes back, though, and realizes when he goes...
Exactly.
We're
talking
It
about
is.
I'm talking about Charlie Manson.
I know.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
letting that sink in again. What was that again, Keegan?
It's,
One more time for the
This
people in
is
the back.
what happens whenever toxic masculinity comes into play, and his fucking poor little ego got bruised, and he realized he wasn't a good musician, and he had to take it out on everybody around him.
And honestly, he's got nothing to lose. Because what has he got going for him?
Well, yeah.
So he does go back to Terry Melcher's place, and he talks to a photographer friend of Sharon Tate. Wow, that was like really hard to get out.
Yeah.
And he finds out that Terry Melcher no longer lives at the address, but he's fucking furious. He's so pissed that he is not getting anywhere with this. And I listened to a podcast. I think I can't actually remember which one I heard that said this, and they had a great theory on it. And I apologize for not giving the correct shout out because I just can't remember which one I was listening to that said this. But it was a great theory about the idea that he knew that Terry didn't live there, but his goal, they speculated, was that it doesn't matter that he doesn't live there. He's like, I can get to you. and here's how I'm going to get to you. I'm not going to kill you, but I want you to know how powerful I am.
Right.
Right. And you better work with me or else. Right. And so I was like, that is a really good theory. And I mean, that's something that does kind of make sense. And so on the evening of August 8th, 1969, Manson directed Charles Watkins, whose nickname is Tex, to take Susan Perkins, Linda Kasabian, and Patricia Krenwinkel to the Melcher home on Cielo Drive and kill everyone inside. That's his directive. This is to just basically, again, his story to these people is that he wants to start this apocalypse. He wants to start this helter skelter. His whole goal. So when
that's how you get people to like fucking kamikaze pilot, or you give them a goal that is bigger than themselves. If you say, go kill these people that wouldn't give me a record deal.
Can't do that. Nah, bro, I'm good.
Nah, bro, I'm good. But if you're like, this is to bring about a change in the world.
This is our goal.
This is bigger than
this
you.
Is bigger than you.
Bigger
this
than
is
me.
Jesus speaking.
Exactly.
I am directing you to do this thing because we got to jumpstart this because it's not happening fast enough.
Yeah.
When they arrive on the property, Linda Kasabian basically is like the lookout. There's actually a really good documentary, and it's just called Manson, and which she describes the whole events. It's really actually really good. And she, when they pull up onto the property, they see a guy in a car, and Tex goes up, shoots the guy 4 times. This guy is literally just there.
Poor fucking guy.
Stephen Parent is his name. He's in the driveway. He's just visiting William Garrettson, who's the property caretaker.
It's literally just like the worst luck ever. Like you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, all of them were, but like he didn't even live there.
Yeah.
So sad. Well, a lot of these people didn't live there.
That's also true.
He also then cuts the telephone lines, and they go into the house in which actress Sharon Tate, who was recently married to
Roman Polanski.
Yes, Roman Polanski. Thank you.
Yeah.
And who is 8 months pregnant with Roman Polanski's child. 8 months. She's literally 2 weeks away.
Yeah.
From giving birth. Can you fucking even? God. Abigail Folger, who was the heiress to the Folger fortune. Wojtek, her boyfriend Wojtek Frykowski, and Jay Sebring. They stab, and murder these people. And it's fucking wild to hear the interviews with some of the women who were involved in this.
Yeah.
It was Patricia Krenwinkel, who I was listening to her describe, and they were talking about like how she literally was saying that she just kept stabbing until she stopped screaming, and I just like, ugh.
I mean, I think at one point she asked her to cut the baby out. She was like, cut the baby out. And like they didn't.
Oh
Yeah.
God, it's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
The guy on the documentary, the Inside, the Manson Family Murders, Fox News series. It was the policeman who came on the scene. He was just like, it was one of the most horrific. And I think this is why it's so legendary. Yes, it's Sharon Tate. Yes, she's an up and coming actress. But you know what? There's been a lot of up and coming actresses that have been murdered, if we're honest. We've talked about them before. I know I've talked about the Playboy girl. I mean, there's been a lot of people who were up and coming actresses who've been murdered. But I think that the viciousness of the crime, the level and the atrocity of the crime is so
Well, and I think it was the
heavy.
combination. It was like, because to be honest, if a bunch of hippies, or what was perceived to be hippies, had killed an everyday person or group of people, it would have made the news.
Yep.
People would have talked
We'd
about
still
it.
be talking about it regardless.
But it would not be what it is right now. Like if they had just gone and killed the LaBiancas,
Right.
and that was it,
right.
like
Yeah, 'cause
it
you
would still
never-
have made the news,
You
but
never
it wouldn't
hear about the LaBiancas. It's always
never-
Sharon Tate.
would have been what it was. It was the combination of it being a cult and celebrities and brutal. Like
and the
it was
idea
like
of this mind control and the idea of these drugs
and
being
how
so
brutal it was. It
influential.
was a massacre.
Absolute massacre. And in the end of it all, they take Sharon Tate's blood. I believe it was Susan Atkins. Actually, that's who I was talking about before, who was like, she said that it just felt cathartic after a while to stab. I'm like, God,
Forget which Nine Inch Nails album was recorded there. They actually rented.
You know what? I know Chris would know.
Yeah. It's
I don't think I like that.
I thought it was downwards. I was going to say that, and I was like,
There's
It's
something really
down
fucked up to me about like
for the
renting a place where people have died just to
I
record
couldn't
an
even
album.
like go
Like,
inside it.
the house
honestly.
is completely burnt, or they took the
It's
tore
done.
it down.
It's
They
done.
tore it down.
Yeah, it's not there anymore.
So at any rate, they with Sharon Tate's blood, they write the word pig on the front door, and the idea is that pig will influence them to think that it is the Black Panthers, that this is racially motivated. And I got to be honest with you, I don't know that anybody ever thought that. I literally, from everything I've ever read, I don't think any cop was like, you know what, this must be the black man doing this.
Yeah, no.
Literally no one was like looking at it this way at all. I never saw anyone who was like, you know what, it's got to be.
Their plan was real stoops.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not good.
So, the La Bianca murders were the following evening. Charlie had said, he's like, you guys, I'm going to show you how this was really done. So he decides that he's on a lookout. He takes Leslie Van Houten, Steve Grogan, who goes by Clem, as well as Tex, Susan, Linda, and Patricia, all out. And they find this guy's house. They went to the Los Feliz, residence of Lino and Rosemary LaBianca. Lino is a grocery. I've heard grocery store owner. I've also heard like supermarket CEO. So I'm not exactly sure what his title was. Rosemary was a dress shop owner. These are just like an everyday folks. Charlie went with them to, again, show them how it was done. He tied them up and ordered their murders. He sent in Tex, Susan, and Patricia to take care of these murders. Leon is stabbed 12 times. Rosemary is stabbed 41 times, many of them post-mortem. They wrote on the walls, "Death to pigs," "Rise," and "Helter Skelter" on the fridge door. This is, again, hoping that this spree would to help to kind of create this illusion that, it's the Black Panthers.
Can you imagine if you were the Beatles? You'd be like, what the fuck?
I
Don't
know.
pull me into this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
It'd be awful.
Like,
The
Jesus.
amount of guilt you would feel and being like,
it's
wait,
not your
how
fucking
exactly?
fault,
But
it's just like this crazy person took your song and was just like, this is what I think it means.
yeah,
They're talking to me.
all the fucking people that used Polly by Nirvana to rape.
Which it meant the
What?
opposite of
It
that,
meant the
which is
opposite
the
of it.
Are you kidding?
weirdest
I
fucking
never heard about that.
thing. Like it was actually okay, it doesn't matter. Anyway.
So, again, La Bianca murders. At the same time, Charlie orders Linda Kasabian to go after this actor who she had met in Venice. So Linda Kasabian, Clem, and Leslie all go to this house where she knows this guy lives. And he says basically it's another actor, that it could be another Piggy. This will be great for us, right? Another name that could possibly be out there, again, starting this Helter Skelter. So when she gets there, she purposely goes to the wrong door and knocks on the wrong door. And, oh, it's not him. He's not here. So I guess we can't do it. And they call that off. During this time, the police are just have no clues. There is no way they can figure out where this is coming from, who has done this. So the Manson family is pretty much getting away with it. And they're living high on the hog. They're out in the desert. They're having fun and doing their own thing. And, they are in the desert and they are looking for their pit that they are going to live in while while the world burns so that they can come up from the ashes and save everyone. They, at the time, borrow, in quotes, an earth mover and stole some dune buggies that were owned by the
What
parks.
is this fucking Mad Max?
It's
Get it
exactly
together.
what I
Grow the
said.
fuck up.
And then that's how the cookie crumbles.
Well, and that is exactly how the cookie crumbles. They burn down this earth mover and they get caught by the police doing this because these are federal property that they're fucking with. So they get put in jail. While in jail, Susan Atkins brags to one of her cellmates that she's like, I can blow your mind. I'm going to tell you something you've never heard before. And this girl's like, you can't tell me anything. Nothing shocks me. And she's like, well, I killed Sharon Tate. And she's like, oh, you did? Do tell me more.
Do tell, I'm making
Do tell.
notes.
And
Like,
then of course
every word you say is another day off my sentence.
Exactly.
You dumb bitch.
Yeah.
Bitch, keep fucking talking.
and dumb bitch she was. She fucking
She sunk
wheeled.
everybody.
Yeah. Because honestly, at this point, they had no fucking
Nothing to
clue.
tie them to
Nothing.
it.
They had nothing.
Yeah.
And they had no way to even start to begin to figure out where this was coming from or why this was happening.
Right.
So bitch spilled the beans, and that is how the Charles Manson family falls. I'm not going to go into all the details. Charles Manson, everyone fucking knows the story. Every single one of them actually was convicted. All of them were served. Well, most of them were served with death penalty, but because the death penalty was revoked in 1971, all of them were serving life sentences. Susan Atkins has been denied parole 21 times. Patricia has been denied parole 16 times, I believe is what it was.
Right.
Most of them have died in prison or are currently still in prison and will probably eventually die in prison.
Yeah.
No one's getting out.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, and
Well
honestly,
done.
the whole court, all that nonsense, there's so many layers to this. Honestly, I feel like Charles Manson has been just done to death. And I mean, I think we all know so much about it. I just want to give you kind of the top line because I really feel like, to me, the reason this is such a Crazy in Love is because the way that he was not only able to manipulate these women, but the fact that not only was he manipulating them, these women truly were crazy in love. They were so fully invested in this person.
Well, yeah. I mean, they were so young. They were given, mind-altering substances. But it's a reminder and something that I try to keep in myself that, like, as I'm going out to date, like, just making sure that you're checking in with yourself, that you're a whole person, that you're keeping your friends, that you're keeping your center. Because it's really easy to get in a bad place and somebody comes in to try to fix you or make you whole.
Well, yeah, I mean,
and all that stuff. And that's where you can get led astray and led into these really dark places.
It's really no different than your run-of-the-mill, like, domestic violence situation. It's basically the same thing. And we wouldn't qualify, like, a woman who stays in a domestic violence situation as being brainwashed. But
kind of.
But that is kind of what it is. It's like
they're being manipulated
your
by someone.
Worth is so determined on what this person needs from you, wants from you, tells you. You've been brought up by them in a lot of ways. You've let yourself go. And I think that there is almost like a sunk cost fallacy. Is that what that is? Where it's just like you get so far in at some point where you're just like, it makes more sense psychologically to just go further in than to try and pull yourself out. It's just like,
girl, put some leggings on, go take a dance class.
amen.
Grab your coworker and say, let's go get a coffee. Like anything to just like pull yourself into activities and people and everything, but never, ever, ever sink your whole worth, your whole life into a relationship.
I mean, and
ever. It will not bring you joy.
Look for the signs too, because he abused these women.
Yeah, he did. He beat them.
He made them. He was a misogynist and a racist. He made them eat after the men. He made them eat out of dog bowls. He forced them into relationships with other men.
Yep.
Like he abused them. It was like any other kind of domestic violence situation where he exercised his control
That's
over
so
them.
weird. For all the research I did, I never saw any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He did all of that. Like he was a misogynist.
I believe it.
Yeah, like
Hard.
he hated women, I think, and was able.
I think that he absolutely hated women. I
Yeah.
absolutely
I think he
agree with
hated
you.
women.
I think he was going to punish every woman he met for the sins of his mother.
Yep.
I think
absolutely.
that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oof.
Well, that was amazing.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I know.
No, it's
Thank you.
good. It's good.
I felt weird doing something that was so.
No, it's good.
No, I
well
like that.
known.
Well, yeah,
Quote unquote. Well,
I kind of think that that's kind of fun. I like it when we can all like chime in and stuff too.
Yeah.
So I just like to find interesting stories, and I mean, fucking, of course, Manson's an interesting story. That's the reason why it's
Crazy in Love, and
Yeah.
it's weird
I
because I
agree.
was actually looking at multiple cults, and I was like, this one fits so perfectly into Crazy in Love.
Yes,
And that's,
I agree.
it's just like it is. I mean, it's very women centric. It's women focused. He manipulated women, and there is a very love, quote unquote,
Free love vibe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. For sure. I think that was a good one, and it's a change of pace for us. I think it's
I feel
great.
so good when you guys validate me on these.
Yeah, because honestly, like I don't know if listeners know this all the time, but like it's work. Like putting
Yeah.
these Crazy and Loves together, whenever it's your turn, it's like there is a certain amount of anxiety about
Yeah.
doing them, and like it's work to do the research. Like so, I feel that hard. So
Stan a fan.
Yeah, let's stand a fan, and then I also have something that I've been watching, so I want to talk about it.
Okay.
But yeah, let's stand a fan.
I would like to stand. There are two women that have been posting on our My Worst Date group quite a bit, but specifically posted
Facebook?
today on Facebook, and it made me cry just because this week has been challenging. It's been like a real weird week, and just to hear like, oh my God, we get so much love. This podcast helps so many people and helps me too. And so Renee Meyer and Rachel Esquivel, thank you so much for just being so sweet and for being super fans. I see you
Thank you.
and I stand
See
you.
you, baby.
I see you, baby. Shaking that ass.
Okay, well, guys, I have not been watching anything new lately. Until earlier this week, I had like a free night. Anthony was gone, and I was gonna go watch I Am the Night.
Oh, I want to see that.
But it was not on my on-demand on TNT anymore. I don't know what happened.
Oh,
It
did you miss
taken
it?
down. It got taken down off of my on-demand.
Like
But
immediately. It
apparently,
just
'cause it
aired.
just aired not too long ago. But what was still up from like months and months and months ago was The Alienist. So I fucking binged.
Did you watch the whole thing? 'Cause
I watched-
I couldn't get past the first 2 episodes.
Oh, I
and
watched-
I love the book.
I watched
love the
all
book.
10 fucking episodes.
Okay.
I loved it.
Okay. All right.
I loved it.
I'll stick
and
with it.
I will say that like I had tried to watch the first episode once a while ago.
Okay.
And I was like, eh. And then whenever I Am the Night wasn't available, I was like, I'm going to go watch The Alienist.
Turns out it's on Hulu.
Oh, it's on Hulu? Great.
Also, by the way, if you ever like are looking for something and you're like, where the fuck can I watch this? If you literally just Google the name of it, there's a thing that says watch shows, and
Yeah.
it'll give you a list
Oh.
of like subscription places.
well, then
Amazing.
Awesome. Yeah.
Just
on
FYI.
Hulu. Great. If you guys want to watch
I was
it.
also like freaking out because I'm like, oh my God, I want to see that.
So
I still haven't seen it either.
I Am the Night?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
I Am the Night's on Hulu. Okay, great.
Yeah, sorry.
So The Alienist, yeah, the first episode, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna dig this.
right. The book is
Shit,
so good, and the
it's
story is amazing.
Tense. And I did not realize that on TNT, like on regular cable, you could show this shit. Like
Oh,
that
really?
show
It's like that, huh?
is brutal. Like
Oof.
it is fucking dark. It is gruesome.
Another book I read way too fucking young. I think my
Really?
mom had it around the house. Yeah. It's
And
I didn't
it's-
realize that was that old.
It's got kind of a mind
didn't mean to
hunter.
age you.
It's got
That's-
kind of like a mind huntery vibe about it.
Yes,
It's like
totally.
It's like a turn of the century mind hunter.
it really is.
It
It's
is.
so good.
I
You
fucking
would
loved
love
it.
If you haven't
Yeah.
read the book yet, Cass, you would actually really like
I'm-
it.
Yeah,
I'm
and I would
very
say,
intrigued.
And
I'm
I
not
would
gonna
say,
lie.
Christina, when I was watching it, I actually thought of you because it's like
It's
a
a period
piece,
piece
which you like,
and
it's
mind
very
hunter.
mind huntery. So
Yeah.
push
it
past,
really was made for you.
push past the first couple of episodes,
Yeah.
because
Chris
I
loved
actually
it.
think
I
I
was
only
into it
watched the
by-
first episode.
I was
and
into
like,
it by end of the second episode.
Okay.
So
Chris loved it.
you just got to push past that first episode. And also what I found for me is like I oftentimes watch shows while doing other shit.
Yeah.
This is one where I was literally like
Unable
put
to.
your phone down, because I feel like if you are not paying attention, you're going to get bored because you're going to be like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. Like
really have to be in it.
it was one where I was like, you cannot be checking your Facebook. You
Got
can't
it.
be on your phone. Like
Okay.
you got to like sit down and watch it.
Okay.
But I really enjoyed it. It's so beautifully done. Like the costumes are great. The, set design's amazing. The actors are really good.
I'm
I really enjoyed it.
All right, I'm going to check it out.
I've been watching and watched all 3 episodes of Black Mirror. So fucking
Black
good.
Mirror is back.
So excited.
So fucking good.
I am so excited.
You know I love Miley. And I'm
She's
going
on
to tell
one?
you that fucking
you know-
episode is so fucking good. It is so
Dude
good.
face that was in Sherlock is in
Yeah.
an episode too, I've heard.
Cumberbatch?
No, not Cumberbatch, not Freeman, but dude face that played Moriarty. Yeah, this is a deep dive.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh well. But
I can't think of their names, but there was a guy who I knew
he's supposedly
recognized right away.
like the guy. He's the guy that kidnaps.
Yes, okay. Yep, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
That's episode 2.
he's also in Fleabag.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
Also,
kinda
we
cute.
watched like the first episode. I fell asleep, but I am interested in watching Fleabag. But I'll tell you what, Black Mirror, not disappointed. Super good.
I love that show.
Super good. Makes you feel the awkward. The first episode is it's awkward. Like I don't know how to explain it. I mean it only in the way that you're like,
the
I don't know
video
how
game?
you want me to feel.
The video game one.
Yeah. I don't know how you want me to feel. And I'm confused on my own emotions about it's very blurry.
Yeah,
I don't know how to
That's
explain
what the
it.
best. I
It's
love
so
how much they
fucking good,
dance
though.
in like the gray and like
Yeah.
they don't tell you how to feel about stuff. It's just like we'll show you like what can happen and let
Yeah.
you like talk it out and
Yeah.
feel it. Yeah,
I mean, like, I don't feel a way. It's just I don't know how to explain it because I don't want to know how to explain it without
no spoilers.
without
Exactly.
spoiling it. But it is very it's thought provoking, and you're like, I don't know how I should feel about this because there's this scenario, then there's this scenario, and then you also are thinking about this other scenario. So then it's like, how do I put all 3 of those things together and how they correlate? And yeah, but I'll tell you what, the Miley episode is bomb. Fucking so good. Of course, I stan her, but
Yeah,
fuck, it's a good episode. They're all good, honestly.
Cool.
I'm just owing to the disappointment is that there's not more of them.
yeah. All right. Well, if you guys have any shorties, any crazy in love suggestions, or just want to reach out, just email us at myworstdatepodcast@gmail.com or go to our one-stop shop of a website, myworstdatepodcast.com. We love you guys so much and thank you. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.
This is a Glass Box Media Podcast.